My dear friends, have you ever noticed that silence can speak louder than words? Sometimes the most powerful answer is not an argument, not a reaction, not even an explanation, but pure silence. In a world where everyone is rushing to be heard, silence has become rare, yet it is the most powerful response we can give, because silence is not weakness, silence is not ignorance, silence is not escape, silence is wisdom in action. Today, let us explore why silence is the most powerful response. My dear friends, have you ever noticed how easily we drain our energy? Not by running, not by working, not even by facing big challenges, but simply by talking unnecessarily. The words take energy. Arguing takes energy. Defending, explaining, reacting, all of these consume so much of our mental and emotional strength. Think about this. Have you ever had a small argument with someone, maybe at home, maybe at work, maybe even with a friend? The argument might have lasted for just 5 minutes, but afterwards, the whole day you felt exhausted. You kept replaying the words in your mind. Why did he say that? I should have replied this way. Next time, I'll tell her this, and suddenly, your entire day is consumed not by the actual problem, but by the energy you lost in that argument. Silence, my friends, is like a shield for your energy. When you choose silence instead of reaction, you are not suppressing yourself. You are protecting yourself. You are saving your strength for things that truly matter. Imagine your energy like water in a pot. If you pour it into every small crack, every little hole, soon you will have nothing left. But if you preserve it, you can use it to grow flowers, cook meals, and nourish life. In the same way, if we waste our energy in meaningless debates, gossip, or arguments, we will have no energy left for growth, for creativity, for love, for kindness. Let me share a story. Once, a monk was walking through a village. A man came to him and started abusing him with harsh words. He called him names, mocked his simple clothes, and insulted him again and again. The monk listened in silence and kept walking. After some time, one of the villagers asked, "Why did you not reply? Don't you feel hurt?" The monk smiled and said, "If someone gives you a gift, but you do not accept it, who does the gift belong to?" The villager said, "It belongs to the giver." The monk said, "Exactly. His words were his gift. I did not accept them. So they still belong to him. I keep my peace. I save my energy." This, my friends, is the power of silence. When you refuse to react to negativity, you are not weak, you are wise. You are saving your precious energy for something greater. Life is too short to waste energy on things that don't help you grow. Choose silence and watch how much strength, clarity, and peace you gain. My dear friends, so often in life, people mistake silence for weakness. They say, "Oh, he stayed quiet because he had nothing to say," or "She stayed silent because she was scared." But the truth is completely the opposite. Staying silent in a situation where you could have shouted, where you could have reacted, where you could have crushed someone with your words, takes incredible inner strength. Anyone can explode in anger. Anyone can argue endlessly. Anyone can raise their voice. But only the strong can remain calm, collected, and silent. It is not the absence of words, it is the presence of wisdom. Think about it. When a dog barks at an elephant, does the elephant stop to bark back? No. The elephant keeps walking because it knows its size, it knows its strength. The elephant doesn't need to prove itself by reacting. In the same way, when you remain silent, it does not mean you are powerless. It means you know your worth. You don't need to waste your dignity in proving yourself to someone who cannot see your value. Silence in this way is a declaration: I know who I am, and I don't need to fight to prove it. Let me share a real life example. Once, two colleagues at a workplace had a disagreement. One began raising his voice, insulting the other, trying to humiliate him in front of everyone. The other man, instead of shouting back, quietly listened and said nothing. People in the office thought he had lost the argument. But over time, they noticed something powerful. The one who shouted lost everyone's respect, while the one who stayed silent earned admiration. People said, if he can remain that calm under attack, he must have great inner control. In the end, silence spoke louder than the loud voice. Sometimes silence is the highest form of reply you can give to arrogance. Why? Because when you argue with someone who is not ready to listen, you lower yourself to their level. But when you remain silent, you rise above. That silence says, I refuse to let your words disturb my peace. I refuse to let your negativity define my energy. Isn't that true strength? And dear friends, remember this: a sword may be sharp, but it needs constant fighting to prove itself. Silence, on the other hand, doesn't need to prove anything. It simply stands as strength in itself. When you practice silence in moments of provocation, you are not avoiding the battle. You are showing that you are already victorious within. Silence is not weakness, silence is controlled power. My dear friends, one of the greatest lessons we can learn about silence is this: it prevents escalation. You see, every conflict, every fight, every argument is like a fire. At first, it's just a spark, a small misunderstanding, a single harsh word, a little disagreement. Now, if you add fuel to that spark with more words, more anger, more shouting, it grows into a raging fire that can burn relationships, burn peace of mind, and sometimes even burn entire families apart. But if, in that very moment, one person chooses silence, the spark has no fuel. And without fuel, the fire dies on its own. Imagine two people standing in a room with dry hay. One of them lights a match. If the other person brings gasoline, the whole place will explode. But if the other person brings nothing, no wood, no oil, no reaction, the flame flickers for a moment and then goes out. This is what silence does. Silence takes away the fuel from conflict. It refuses to feed anger. It refuses to feed negativity. And in doing so, it protects peace. Think about a husband and wife in an argument. The husband says something harsh. The wife immediately replies with something harsher. The husband takes it up another notch, and soon both are shouting. And then a small issue that could have been resolved in a minute becomes a wound that lasts for days. Now, imagine if in that very moment, when the husband says something harsh, the wife chooses silence. She doesn't reply in anger. She takes a deep breath. The husband's words hang in the air for a moment, but then silence absorbs them. There is nothing more to fight with. The storm calms down. Later, when emotions have cooled, a calm and kind conversation can solve the problem. That's the power of silence. It prevents escalation and saves relationships from unnecessary scars. Once, a king asked his wise minister, "What is the most powerful weapon a man can use against anger?" The minister replied, "Silence." The king was surprised. He said, "Not a sword, not an army." The minister smiled and said, "When someone is angry and you remain silent, their anger has nowhere to go. Like a ball thrown against a wall, it comes back to them. But if you argue, their anger finds a new home in your heart, and then both hearts burn." The king nodded in deep understanding. He realized that silence is not passive. It is the most active shield against escalation. My dear friends, let us ask ourselves, how many times in our life have we made a small problem bigger simply because we could not remain silent? How many relationships have been wounded? How many friendships broken? How many families divided? Not because of the original issue, but because of the unnecessary escalation that came after. If we learn the art of silence, we can protect not only our peace, but also the peace of those around us. Silence is not about losing a fight. It's about refusing to start a war. Silence is not weakness. It is wisdom that says, I will not throw fuel on this fire. My dear friends, silence is not just the absence of words. It is the presence of clarity. You see, when our mind is filled with noise, when we keep reacting, shouting, debating, explaining, we do not give ourselves the chance to see things as they truly are. Silence is like still water. When the lake is disturbed, you cannot see your reflection. But when the water is calm and silent, suddenly you can see yourself clearly. In the same way, silence allows us to see reality without the distortion of anger, ego, or emotion. Think about it. How many times have you spoken in a rush of emotion, out of anger or hurt or even pride, only to regret it later? In the heat of the moment, words come like arrows. Once released, they cannot be taken back. And later, when you calm down, you realize you did not even mean half the things you said. Isn't it true? The silence we did not choose in that moment could have saved us from guilt and regret. Silence gives the space to pause, to breathe, to think, and to respond with clarity instead of reacting blindly. Let me share a story with you. There was once a disciple who approached his master with great anger. He said, "Master, my friend has betrayed me. I want to break all ties with him. Tell me, what should I do?" The master listened and then said, "My child, come back tomorrow." The disciple was confused. He wanted an answer immediately, but out of respect, he obeyed. The next day, he returned calmer than before. He said, "Master, I have thought about it. I don't want to break ties anymore. I just want to speak to my friend calmly." The master smiled and said, "Yesterday, if I had given you an answer, you would have acted out of anger. But today, after a night of silence, you can see clearly." This is why silence is the most powerful guide. It shows you what you cannot see in the heat of the moment. Clarity, my friends, does not come when we speak. It comes when we stop speaking. When we close our mouth, we open our mind. Silence allows us to listen to our inner voice, the voice that often gets drowned in the noise of the world. In silence, we can ask ourselves, what is really important here? Is this fight worth my peace? Is this argument worth damaging my relationship? What will truly serve me in the long run? And when those answers come, they bring peace with them. In fact, even in the busiest parts of our life, silence is what brings direction. Leaders, saints, philosophers, all of them took moments of silence before making their greatest decisions. Why? Because silence connects us to wisdom. Silence gives us a higher perspective. Words are like clouds, but silence is like the sky. Clouds come and go, but the vast sky remains. When we are silent, we rise above the passing clouds of emotion and stand in the vast clarity of truth. So remember this, dear friends. Silence is not about avoiding the world. It is about seeing the world more clearly. It is not running away from reality. It is looking at reality with fresh eyes. In silence, confusion melts away and truth shines like the sun. The next time you feel the urge to reply instantly, pause, breathe, be silent. For in that silence, you will find clarity, and in that clarity, you will find the right path forward. My dear friends, one of the greatest gifts silence gives us is that it protects our relationships. Relationships are not destroyed by the big storms of life as much as they are damaged by the tiny cracks created by unnecessary words. Many of us believe that relationships end because of huge betrayals, massive mistakes, or unthinkable conflicts. But if you look closely, most relationships are wounded by small things. A harsh word said in anger, a sarcastic comment, a careless response. These small words, repeated over time, cut deeper than we realize. Silence in those moments acts as a shield. It saves us from saying something we will regret. It saves the bond from unnecessary wounds. Think about a simple example. A husband comes home tired after a long day. He is irritated and, without meaning to, he snaps at his wife. The wife has two choices. She can immediately snap back, doubling his irritation, and within minutes the house turns into a battlefield. Or she can remain silent for a moment, allowing the storm of his irritation to pass. Later, when both are calm, she can speak her heart gently. Which choice will protect the relationship? Which choice will deepen love? Silence, my friends, is not the absence of communication. It is a delay that protects communication. It is waiting for the right time instead of wasting words at the wrong time. There is a story of a saint who once told his students, "Never speak when you are angry. If you feel the fire of anger burning in you, keep your lips sealed." One student asked, "But master, what if I am right? What if the other person is wrong?" The saint smiled and said, "If you are right, silence will protect your dignity. If you are wrong, silence will protect your relationship. Either way, silence will protect something precious." Hey, my dear friends, we must realize this truth. Once spoken, words cannot be taken back. They may be forgiven, but they are rarely forgotten. A single harsh sentence can echo in someone's mind for years. Isn't it true? Sometimes we still remember things said to us decades ago, things that left a scar on our heart. Now imagine if, in those moments, the other person had chosen silence instead of sharp words. Imagine how much pain could have been avoided. Silence protects not only the one who chooses it, but also the heart of the one who receives it. Even in friendships, silence plays a powerful role. When two friends disagree, ego often pushes them to win the argument. But winning an argument can mean losing a friend. Silence, on the other hand, allows space for understanding. It says, "I value you more than I value being right in this moment." Isn't that beautiful? In that silence, love survives, respect grows, and the relationship is protected. Silence is also powerful because it communicates in ways words cannot. When someone you love makes a mistake, sometimes silence is more powerful than anger. Silence says, "I am hurt, but I still respect you enough not to insult you." Silence says, "I trust that you will realize your mistake on your own." In this way, silence protects dignity on both sides. It holds the bond together when words could have torn it apart. So, my dear friends, if you want to protect your relationships, whether with family, friends, or loved ones, learn the art of silence. Remember, silence does not mean avoiding communication forever. It means pausing, protecting, and preserving the love that exists between you. Because once a relationship is broken, even if it is repaired, the cracks remain. Silence ensures those cracks never appear. Choose silence in heated moments, and you will find your relationships not only survive, they will blossom with trust, patience, and love. My dear friends, one of the most misunderstood truths about silence is this: silence commands respect. People often think that if we don't reply, we will be taken lightly, or if we stay quiet, people will think we are weak. But in reality, it is the opposite. When you remain silent in moments where everyone expects you to explode, people don't see you as weak. They see you as strong. They see you as someone who has mastery over themselves, someone who does not bend to anger, ego, or provocation. And that, my friends, is where respect is born. Think about it. In a group discussion, if everyone is talking over each other, raising their voices, and fighting to be heard, who stands out? The one who speaks less but speaks with calm authority. Why? Because silence has weight. When a person speaks only after careful silence, people listen with more attention. They know those words are not casual, not emotional, but thoughtful. Isn't it true? The world respects those who don't waste their voice on every little argument, but reserve it for what truly matters. There is an old saying, the loudest one in the room is often the weakest. Have you seen it? People who keep shouting, proving themselves, forcing their words. They may get attention for a moment, but deep down, people don't respect them. On the other hand, the one who stays calm, composed, unshaken, that person earns silent admiration. Respect does not come from noise, it comes from poise. Respect